Antarctica is the only continent with no permanent residents or citizens. People living there, like scientists, only stay for around 3 to 6 months for research purposes. There are no polar bears in Antarctica, only in the Arctic, because no bears resided or survived at the South Pole after Pangaea broke apart. Most people staying in Antarctica are Christians, having more than 70% of the continent's population. Following that is a combination of atheists and people who chose not to disclose their religion. Antarctica was part of Gondwana, a supercontinent that came before the Pangaea. The supercontinent included South America, Arabian Peninsula, Africa, Madagascar, India, and Australia. The Greek word for Antarctica is Antarktikos, which means the opposite of the Arctic. The Antarctic Desert is the largest in the world, double the size of the Sahara Desert. The polar environment is considered a polar desert since it rarely rains or snows there. Due to the cold temperature, most plants, like trees or bushes, can't survive in Antarctica. But some exceptions are mosses, liverworts, and 2 native flowering plants, Antarctic hair grass and Antarctic pearlwort. Silvia Marella de Palma gave birth to Emilio Marcos Palma in 1978 at Esperanza Base, making Emilio the first person to be born in Antarctica. Antarctica Day is celebrated every December 1st to commemorate the signing of the Antarctic Treaty. One of the agreements of the Antarctic Treaty System is to protect the Antarctic environment. This agreement prevents mining and leaving any waste on the continent. There are 70 permanent research stations in Antarctica. The largest one is McMurdo Station, which has the capability of having thousands of residents. The US built it in December 1955 for scientific research and the logistics hub of the US Antarctic program. Doctors staying in Australian Antarctic research stations during winter are required to remove their appendixes. It's because there's only one doctor per station, and they can't afford to be in life-threatening situations wherein evacuation is unlikely. Antarctic fishers have antifreeze proteins that make them survive Antarctica's freezing water. Adolf Hitler sent an expedition to Antarctica to harvest whale oil, essential for making margarine and lubricating weapons. Antarctica wasn't covered in ice for more than 100 million years. Paleontologists found fossils, including frogs, birds, and even dinosaurs discovered on the continent. There are months when the sun doesn't rise in Antarctica. It happens during Antarctica's winter as it's tilted away from the sun, which prevents the sun from rising there. And the sun doesn't set when it's summer in Antarctica because the continent is now tilted towards the sun. Sharks can't survive in Antarctica because of the cold temperatures. The only exception was a type of sand tiger shark called Striatolamia macrota, which are now extinct, as its teeth were discovered on Seymour Island, an ice-free island in Antarctica. People who worked in Antarctica were rewarded with a medal. An example is the Antarctica Service Medal, which the US Congress made in 1960. As of October 1, 2008, members of the US Armed Forces and even US citizens can get it by working in the polar environment for at least 10 days under the US Antarctic program. British people working in Antarctica for more than 365 days are still liable to pay income tax. It's called British Antarctic Territory Tax, which has a 7% tax rate on their monthly salary. People who've stayed in Antarctica have a saying, "If you sweat, you die." It's because sweating causes hypothermia in polar environments like Antarctica. Although, this deadly problem can be prevented by regulating body temperature by properly layering clothes. On September 19, 2022, Elon Musk announced that his satellite internet provider, Starlink, can be accessed on all continents, including Antarctica. Heroic Age of Antarctic Exploration, is a term used for the 25 years between 1897 and 1922 of global focus on the scientific and geographical investigation of Antarctica. This curiosity led to numerous voyages from different nations that resulted in inspiring survival stories, but also painful memories of death. Two men had similar names that went to Antarctica. The first is John Davis, an American sealer and explorer who was considered the first man to step onto Antarctic land in 1821. The other is John King Davis, one of the Australasian Antarctic expedition captains known for making wise decisions when commanding a ship during dangerous situations. There are travel companies that allow you to explore Antarctica. Some of the pioneers are Aurora and Quark expeditions. Founded in 1991, the same year the International Association of Antarctica Tour Operators was formed to protect the continent. However, the beginning of tourism in Antarctica dates back to the late 1950s. The total number of tourists that visited Antarctica from 2017 to 2018 amounted to 51,707. Which was a massive increase as there were only 38,478 visitors from 2015 to 2016. According to a Denmark-based travel booking platform, April to September is the worst time to visit Antarctica due to colder temperatures and having little to no sunlight. John George Bartholomew, a cartographer, was the first to put Antarctica on maps in 1886. On March 25, 1988, the Balleny Islands in Antarctica experienced an 8.1 magnitude earthquake, which became the strongest earthquake in the continent. That size of an earthquake is enough to make Burj Khalifa collapse. According to the observation of NASA scientists, the Tohoku earthquake and tsunami in Japan that occurred in March 2011 created new icebergs in Antarctica. According to researchers, the Antarctic Ocean absorbs more carbon dioxide than it releases. This results in ocean acidification that negatively affects marine life and humans due to a lack of seafood supplies. Norway defeated Britain in the race to Antarctica's South Pole in 1911. They reached the South Pole on December 14, 1911. Robert Falcon Scott and his team took a photo with Amundsen's tent on January 17, 1912, at the South Pole that turned out to be their last photo before meeting death on their way back to the UK. Antarctica's air is one of the cleanest in the world, making it a perfect place for researchers to know how our environment changes due to nature and humans. There are only two ice sheets in the world, the Antarctic and Greenland ice sheets, and Antarctica has the largest one as it covers 5.3 million square miles. Antarctica is almost equivalent to the size of the United States and Mexico combined are twice the size of Australia. According to a study in 2017, there are 138 volcanoes in Antarctica. Most are either dormant or covered in ice sheets, but there are currently two active volcanoes, Mount Erebus and Deception Island. Numerous Antarctic explorers began discovering plant fossils in the 19th and 20th centuries. One of the earliest to find them was Carl Anton Larsen, a Norwegian whaler and explorer, as he and his members found petrified wood on Seymour Island in 1892. About 70,000 killer whales live in Antarctica. They reside in this continent because some of their prey are seals and penguins living in the polar environment. South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, Chile, and Argentina are the closest countries to Antarctica. Antarctica has 70% of Earth's freshwater frozen in its ice sheet, which can make the sea level rise whenever it melts or collapses. The continent's ice sheet is also responsible for 90% of Earth's ice.